just so that we're all on board, when I say the word body therapy,
Mhm.
what comes to mind? There are a number of things that are called body therapies right now. So if you could
Sure.
just rattle off every one of those that comes to mind.
Well, there are hundreds.
Hundreds. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
literally. A first characterization of body psychotherapy, I would suppose, is to include in that category all forms of psychotherapy that explicitly use body techniques to strengthen a dialogue between the patient and the therapist. Essentially about like what is happening and what is being experienced and perceived. And in most techniques or schools of body psychotherapy, the body is considered a means of communication or of exploration, just as complex and rich as our verbal communication would be. So the body is really no longer experienced per se as kind of a object of awareness, but more as an aspect of awareness. And that really creates the many complexities and the rich traditions that have been around in some instances even prior to Freud. So, when you think about conventional psychotherapy, particularly um, in a classical psychotherapy, there would always be an explicit access of verbal communication, but then an implicit process that typically in analytic terms would be described in the boundaries of transference and countertransference. Whereas in body psychotherapy, the approach integrates the two dimensions of explicit and implicit processes, but there's an explicit exploration of behavior itself. So the therapist serves as kind of a mirror, describes the way that he or she perceives the patient's behavior, and also asks the patient to sort of explore what is happening when he or she tries to behave differently. And the utilization of a body technique that might have come from a multidisciplinary range of fields, not just yoga therapy, but physical therapy, dance, sports, any kind of movement. That then becomes the interactive modality. So essentially, body psychotherapists are using somatic attunement skills really to deepen the awareness of both themselves and their clients as bodies.
Yeah. So mention some of the specific schools or techniques, if you will. For example, you
Sure.
mentioned dance therapy.
Mhm.
I'm thinking of bioenergetics.
That's right.
Uh,
Yeah.
keep going. Some more.
Yeah. Any neo-Reichian approach to psychotherapy, some of our sponsors for our upcoming biennial conference this year would be folks like sensory motor psychotherapy, somatic experiencing, Hakomi. We also have traditions like bioenergetics or biodynamic psychotherapy. And so, yes, body psychotherapy in a contemporary sense, like in Europe, there literally are nearly 200 various different training programs that identify with the European Association of Body Psychotherapy as a body psychotherapy school or training program. And whether it's the bioenergetic analysis that Lowen had created, who was a patient of Wilhelm Reich's, or the Danish-based Bodynamics, which was Gerda Boysen's biodynamic psychology, Ron Kurtz, who created Hakomi, John Parakos, who created core energetics, Jay Statman, who created unitive psychology, Malcolm Brown, who created organismic psychotherapy. All of these folks create this rich umbrella of a community, many of whom can really trace their beginnings back to Reich and sort of his voice and overall character analysis is where it all began with vegetotherapy.
Yeah, yeah. He talked about character armor, that
That's right.
that our psychological defenses become so over practiced, if you will, that they
Sure.
begin to show up in our posture and our
Hmm.
musculature and
Hmm.
connective tissue too, I guess.
Hmm.
And
That's
so
right.
that's kind of the main river, the main stream, and a lot of offshoots. A lot of
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.